Just to let you know, this is the second time we've ever gone live. So y'all are here live, but then people are watching it live via home as well. So just making sure. Okay, it's all good? Yes. Okay, so I'm going to stay locked in this position for the most part so that people that are watching live can be here. Just know that everything you say and do can be heard through here. So even your whispers can be picked up. So be kind in your words. So, so thank you very much for being here today for the Principal Scoop. We did one of these back in April, and it was after a school shooting. We had about 20 parents, and that was there was a critical need to have a meeting about school safety at AMS. But I want to do this about every 4 years, so hopefully you find this informative, and then also you'll be willing to come back again. And then after my short presentation, then we'll have the AHS counselors here. So the Principal Scoop. All right, and it is working. Let me say this, that the purpose of this is to, I try to be as transparent as possible about where we are as a school for you to ask detailed questions. I encourage you to push with your questions. And then if there's certain questions that I feel like can be answered outside, I'll do that. Come on. I'm going to ask you, Ms. Martinez, if you could just move the mouse over and click and see if that helps. There we go. Okay. Before we press play on this, every Principal Scoop, I like to do a campus highlight to highlight our kids and what they're doing. And on this one, I would like to highlight Tiger Time. Tiger Time is every day. It's what we would traditionally call advisory, but we call it Tiger Time. It's 30 minutes. It is not with a classroom teacher. It is with someone that has been assigned to your child. And the goal is that they would build community, that they would build this connection amongst the students and the staff. So they would have a trusted adult to go to if they ever needed something. Of course, we've got coaches and teachers, but this would be another avenue for our, let me scoot over right here. Okay, another trusted avenue for our students to go to. And there's basically 5 things that happen during Tiger Time. First of all, you're going to hear study hall. Second, because students were telling us that they have so many after-school activities that they prefer the time to study. The second of them is character education. We do some type of grade 8 lesson, basically to teach the students what we expect at AMS. Another one is the Ams Broadcast videos. We have a weekly broadcast about what are the happenings at AMS and celebrating certain students or groups. You will see recess on here. We have 1 day a week where students can go to the gym or outside just to play. And you may say, I don't know about that, but trust me, when I've seen middle schoolers, they do like to get their energy out. So this is what Tiger Time is and how it's important through the mouths of our youngsters.
I'm Cassie, and this is Sarah, Jenna, and we'll be talking about Tiger Time. What is Tiger Time, and what do you do in Tiger Time? Tiger Time is a dedicated portion of the school, and it's about 30 minutes every day. It's before you go to 4th period, and you can work on studying and catching up on work. Yeah, it's kind of a shorter period where you get to do some extra activities that don't have anything really to do with your actual classes. And some teachers let you do study hall, or also some teachers have dedicated days for different things to do in Tiger Time. Has your Tiger Time positively impacted you with your relationships with students, or has Tiger Time helped you academically?
Well, it has helped me with like homework and stuff that I've tried, and then I can just help a student. I can just have a student try to help me and figure out it, and I better understand it, and then I'm also able to get some work done. And it just makes it a lot easier than just having to leave the school and doing homework. I just have time to do it during class, and I just don't have to worry about doing it at home.
Yeah, especially if a teacher gives you study hall where you have time to do your classwork or homework that you have not finished yet. That's really helpful. That also, if you just want to catch up on a book that you're reading and they give you study hall or some time that you aren't doing anything else, you can also read or something. Some teachers let you use your phones, others let you only use it for academic purposes, but it still helps you get stuff done.
Okay, and what is your favorite thing about Tiger Time?
Well, it gives us time to catch up and really just try to figure out what we're doing, and we get time to maybe hang out or finish work. We just have dedicated time to just figure stuff out.
Yeah, I agree with her. You can do, once again, with the study hall thing, you can finish your work that you need to finish so you can go home and do whatever you want besides having to sit down and do homework and waste the rest of your day. You can also hang out with your friends who you might not have lunch with, or you may have a class with, but they don't let you like talk because you got to do your classwork. So, yeah.
Okay, thank you. Hi, I'm Cassidy, and this is Dylan
and MJ.
and we're going to talk about Tiger Time. So what is Tiger Time, and what do you do in Tiger Time?
Just pretty much check your grades, see your friends, maybe go outside. I don't know. Like Tiger Time is like a shorter period to where you can catch up on work and finish other things and also hang out with friends.
How has Tiger Time positively impacted your relationships with students in Tiger Time, or helped you academically?
Oh, we check our grades like every Monday, and we help each other out if we're failing any classes. So Tiger Time, and like with the relationships, you can make like better bonds with your friends, and like academically, you can help other students, or you can get help yourself and also finish work.
And what is your favorite thing about Tiger Time?
On Friday, same.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Cassidy, and this is Zia Martin.
Cruise learner.
And we're going to talk about Tiger Time. So what is Tiger Time, and what do you do in Tiger Time? For me, Tiger Time is mostly for studying. You know, it's a thing that you use, a time that you use to study and catch up on your homework.
Tiger Time for me is a little bit of a breather room to help me get on time and get my work done for stuff that I have for class and get some help on it.
And how has Tiger Time impacted your relationship with students, or has Tiger Time helped you academically? Tiger Time really has helped me catch up on my homework and get assignments done on time. So it's really positively impacted my performance.
Tiger Time has helped me socialize with other kids and meet new people to talk with and share ideas with.
And what is your favorite thing to do in Tiger Time? Read, definitely.
Talk to friends and at least get some help on some work that I have to do.
Okay, thank you. Hi, I'm Cassidy, and this is
Brady.
we talk about Tiger Time. So what is Tiger Time, and what do you do in Tiger Time?
Well, for me, Tiger Time kind of helps me like catch up with work or make up missing assignments that I need to get turned in. And yeah.
What has Tiger Time positively impacted your relationships with students, or helped you academically?
Well, I would like in Tiger Time, if I'd be having like a problem on an issue on a math problem or something, there'd probably be someone in the class that had like the same issue as me, and we could help each other.
And what is your favorite thing in Tiger Time?
Well, it helps me socialize. This is definitely, I've made a couple new friends in Tiger Time. Yeah.
Right, thank you. Hi, I'm Cassidy, and this is Ron. We'll be talking about tiger time. So what is tiger time and what do you do in tiger time?
We usually get our work done and keep track of our grades. For me, tiger time is to hang out and talk to them.
How has tiger time positively impacted relationships or helped you academically?
Just be like to do your homework and yeah. It helps me meet new people because it sets me at a different seat with different people I haven't talked to.
Okay, and what is your favorite thing to do in tiger time?
Spend time with my friends. Recess and talk to others.
Thank you.
And Nay, if you can move the mouse in, let me see it. And then just click play. Okay, there we go. One of the things I didn't mention is 2 to 3 years ago, before Tiger Time, if there would be a lot of young men, usually boys that did not have organized binders. I would say about 2 to 3 years ago, if you ask students have they checked their grades online, you would find only about the pre-AP students were more likely to be doing that, but our on-level students were not doing that on a regular basis. And through Tiger Time, we're helping students, making sure they stay organized on a weekly basis. And the students that are doing that are avid students. Our avid students are leading our students that struggle with organization. They are doing that. What's really powerful is 2 to 3 years ago, when it came to studying, there was a good group of students that they didn't, once they left school, they were done with studying. We see students studying a lot more. Of course, our pre-AP students that are intrinsically motivated, they are studying. But we're seeing now students that never really studied before studying during this time. And what we're seeing also, we're starting to see, this is our second year of doing Tiger Time in this format. We are starting to see with this community, this culture that is growing, we are starting to see students asking for help. If you've ever been in a middle school before, for a student to ask for help from a peer is unheard of, because they do, not so unheard of, but it's unlikely because they don't want to indicate to their peers that they're struggling with something. But we're seeing lots of groups of 2, 3, 4, 5 kids studying together in preparation for a test. So part of the mission, which I'm going to talk about in a little bit, is building community. And community has this inference of shared working together on common goals. When before we hadn't seen that, now Tiger Time is allowing us to do that. So of course we cannot ignore the social aspect. Our middle school students love the social interaction, and so we have that in there as well. One of the great things, and I know we've done a little bit of research into this. On our recess days, we are allowing the kids to play board games and card games, and we are noticing that kids who never would have interacted before are now interacting together. So it is very powerful, just game playing. I'm not talking about cell phones, I'm talking about with cards and things like that. So it is really powerful. So I'm gonna be going through information, 2 or 3 slides about all the data, just in about 10 to 15 minutes. This is your time to ask questions. I did want to point out on each one of the tables, I gave you 2 copies of the data picture. I keep track of this. And basically in one snapshot, I try to give parents an idea of the trends, the progress, or lack thereof that we have in different areas. So I do have that here, and I have lots of data. If you ever want to know, you go on the AMS website, go to staff sites, go to my site, and I have a tab for data, and I have data all the way back from 2012. Campus improvement plans and things like that. So I encourage you to look through this data as I go through this. If you have any questions about it, please feel free to do so. But let me just go through the data so far on the first 6 weeks, just to give you a scoop. Right now, to quite a surprise to me, as you'll see with all the supports that we've put in the last 2 years, we've seen a higher than expected number of students failing and failure marks. It's not data that I can make conclusions about right now, because it's first of all the 6 weeks, and then also because some of we had so few grades, that the more grades, the more valid the grade is, the less grades, then that one individual grade can have a greater impact. So I'm interested to see in the 9 weeks what that looks like. But it was quite a surprise. I have been measuring this data since 2012. We had similar data in 2015 and 16, so it was a surprise to me a little bit there. The supports that we've put into place over the last 2 years, I want to point this out on the last page of the data picture. There's 3 pages. It's about a half a page. You can see the demographic data for AMS. So the supports we've had to put in place over the last couple of years, because we have this year in 2018-19 our highest populations in economically disadvantaged, at-risk students, ELL populations, 504, Section 504, and in special ed. So all of the groups that need additional support, those are all at their highest points since I have been here, since I started measuring this in 2010-11. So if you have any questions about that, feel free to chime in. Yes, ma'am.
How do you determine who's economically disadvantaged and at risk?
Okay, so economically disadvantaged is based on the number of families that apply for free and are accepted free or reduced lunch. Yes. At risk, I believe there's 11 or 13 indicators or so that determine whether a student's at risk or not. The ones that are applicable to middle school are typically if they have failed a grade, if they have not passed a STAR, if they have failed multiple courses the previous year, that they get a flag for at risk. Yeah. So any other questions? And just feel free to throw up your hand at any time. Right now, we have the district gives additional staff members and I'm going to just let you know, I'm talking a little louder just to make sure that it's picked up on our live session, but the district gives additional staff members based on your economically disadvantaged and at-risk populations. Over the last 2 years, we've had our highest increases, so we've gotten additional staff, and up through last year, I never felt like I had enough support to meet the needs of the students that were here. And of course, this year, I never feel like we fully meet it. But this year, I feel like I'm able to address the students with the greatest number of needs. So we have, in our history at AMS, the highest number of students that are receiving level 3 academic supports. That means that it's happening on a regular basis, sometimes on a daily basis. So we're able to address over 250 students that really have strong academic needs. Now we're able to address other students maybe on a pull-out, push-in basis, but this is the first time we've been able to address this many students in these areas. So I do expect this type of information to turn around as well. Some of those supports, for the first time ever, we have an academic coach that is able to support about 20 to 30 students in the classroom on an as-needed basis. So some students need it on a daily basis, some will need it maybe 2 to 3 times a week, some will need it once a week based on their struggles. But she is going in, pressing in with the kids and supporting them, making sure they're turning their work, helping them with study skills, preparing for tests coming up, things like that. And so we're calling it academic coach, and so far on the early basis, we have students that are responding very well to that. For the first time ever, last year was part-time, this year full-time. We have an interventionist that is tracking all 1,200 plus students in our school, and they're basically able to track where their needs are and whether we need to add supports and remove supports. We've never been able to do that before. We've had staff members that we tried to, that was like a duty as assigned. Now we have someone that only does that, and she is a phenomenal person. She's able to keep track of all the data, but then she is excellent and able to personalizing the pullouts that these students need. So she's phenomenal, and we're seeing some early dividends there. We have shifted a little bit the way that we do reading and math strategies classes. It may sound like, why haven't you done this before? But technology is helping us do it. But in the past, what we would do is we would look at certain standards where the groups of kids struggled, and then we would provide, let's say to a class of 12 to 15 kids, we would provide traditionally standards where they traditionally struggle. But for the first time ever, now we are addressing each individual kid on each individual struggle that they're having on a daily basis. So some kids are on computers, some kids are not, some kids are doing small groups, some are not, some are doing individual with the teacher, and it's flexible each and every day. So we're looking forward to the results that will come out of that. Last year was the first year that we had one of the strongest people in data that we've ever had before. And she is a data consultant. And what she's able to do is pull data by individualized students based on their individualized history. So let's just take a 7th grade student. If they're struggling with a certain standard in 7th grade, she's pulled data all the way back to 3rd grade, and she can go back in that data to see where did that child first have struggle in that pathway or that standard. So if you had, let's say, fractions and decimals, there may be something fractions, decimals related that has been in 6th and 5th and 4th. She's able to go back to see where the child first had struggles with it. So instead of looking at a child and go, oh, we're going to help you with fractions, decimals at the 7th grade level, this data now says, no, they started struggling at the 4th grade level in fractions and decimals, and then we're able to pull resources to start at the area they're struggling at. So we're seeing, so this is where this math reading strategist is using that data to meet the child at the grade level where they're most struggling. So this is in year 2 that we're using that. And then also, for the first time ever, we're doing standards-based tutorials. And what that basically means is this, is let's say we're coming up to a standard in 8th grade math. That's a critical standard. They have to know it more than just that year, but in years moving forward. What we've done is let's say the critical standard is this, we've pulled data to see where which children are struggling in that 7th and 6th and 5th grade data leading up into that 8th grade standard. And we're pulling kids in small groups. So basically we're trying to fill those gaps before they come to that 8th grade standard so that they can feel more confidence and have that foundation moving in. So these are just, I'd say all of these supports have been growing over the last 2 to 3 years, but primarily over the last 2 years. Does anybody have any questions about any of these supports? And if you don't like to ask questions in front of a group, of course, I'll stay after and we can ask questions. Okay, I did press to progress it forward. If you could just press the next slide for me, see if that does it. Okay, just some things about behavior. So compared to 2016, I'm not comparing it to 2017 because we're early in the school year, and because of Hurricane Harvey last year, pushed back the start of school 2 weeks. But compared to 2016, even though we are 1 week further along because we started 1 week earlier, we are tracking less behavior incidents so far. We're tracking less D-halls, Thursday classes, in-school suspensions, and out-of-school suspensions this year than compared to 16-17 and 2017-2018. I think a lot of that has to do to a couple factors. We've been focusing on culture the last 2 to 3 years, Tiger Time being one of those culture items. But also, if you're familiar with Capturing Kids' Hearts, it's a program that basically works to build culture in the classroom. We believe those have a lot to do with it. And then also, and not trying to say in so many words, there are certain staff members that they weren't about relationships. So over the last couple of years, we've been asking them to find employment somewhere else. So all of these factors are helping us with building a better culture. And what I'm really excited about, we're strategically doing more restorative justice practices. Typically, in some cases, whenever you give a consequence to a child, the child will look at the victim as the reason why they received the consequence. So there's this continuing resentment toward the child. Restorative practices works to help the person who did the behavior, not the victim, to have empathy for the victim, and then to understand what that student was feeling, and then working to make it right. The student has to take steps to make it right. We don't do this in in all circumstances. For example, if you take bullying, sexual harassment, where there is definitely there's an imbalance of power, we do not do that in that case. But in other cases where it's just conflict, misunderstandings, we have the students engage in restorative practices and resolving conflict themselves. But we're just in year 2 of the early beginnings of that. And there's some more powerful aspects of that which we continue to work through. Lastly, with attendance, typically, since I've started tracking in 2011, we range from 96.3 to 96.7% at the end of the school year. Currently, we're at 97.5%, but we range between a drop of 0.3 to 0.7 by the end of the year, so it's really too early to tell what kind of year we're going to have. Really, it's flu season. December through February is where we get to see how hard we were hit. So any questions about any of the data? Yes, ma'am.
On the individual supports, the first slide.
Yes.
If, for example, my child were getting any of those supports, will we be notified, or is that just something y'all kind of get data here? And
okay, good question. Well, the good thing is with this interventionist, part of her role is the communication. And so since we don't have 6 or 8 teachers communicating, she does a better job of that. Thinking out loud, I think, do you mind going back, Nay, just to make sure? Okay, most of these supports that I'm speaking of, like this person, the academic coach, has spoken with the parents. Each of these students that are receiving this level of support is paramount that we've communicated with the parents about that. That would be a level 3 support. These things would require parent contact because they'd be staying before or after school, so it would. But if your child, like for example, iStation is a reading diagnosis to see if child's reading ability is trending upward, trending downward, or whatever. Or same thing in ClassWorks, which is a math diagnostic. This interventionist tracks those things, and if they're noticing a child trending to need additional support, she's the one that would contact you. Yeah. Any other questions? Okay, all right, let's see. Okay, that worked that time. All right. So just real quick summary of safety. That is paramount to Dr. Fagan's vision, as well as Dr. Sconza before her. Just want to give you heads up. So far, we've done 1 safety drill around, I'm talking about around intruder drills, things like that. We've done 1 so far. We did a walkthrough drill. A walkthrough drill is basically what is happening in the classroom. Basically, that students are, we're clearing the hallways, we're looking outside the door, shutting the doors. We're testing to see. We have a couple areas in our building where one door leads to a workroom, which leads to another room. We're trying to work through a couple of those areas where, you know, the other day when we did the walkthrough, one teacher was at the copy room and of course was not at their door, so they weren't able to pull the magnet, and we were able to get into one room, gave us access to 5 others. So now we've come up with a system in place that there are certain doors that will never be propped open with a magnet. They'll always be locked. So we just go through these walkthrough drills to test for those. Well, we've done that with the kids in September, and then we have our full-scale intruder drill in early spring. That's where we ask some staff members to pretend that they are an intruder, and we go through a full-scale intruder drill. And that's basically a lot has to do with the administrators. What is the timeline that it takes to get a message to the whole building? For example, 3 years ago when we did an intruder drill, full scale, it took about 45 seconds to a minute for the message to get to the PA to tell the whole school. So what we did is we then made it available for every teacher to be able to press #10 to tell the whole school. So it'll now go from 45 seconds to a minute down to just a matter of seconds before we can communicate to the whole school that we need to lock down the school. So, but this is a lot about what is the administrator's role, how do we respond? We've learned through research that it is important for the administrator to go get on the PA while they're watching the video cameras to communicate to the whole school. where the danger is. So there's not this lack of, I don't know, I'm just huddling up. I don't know where the intruder is. But now our goal is to try to get an administrator onto the PA to sit there and say, there's 2 people going down the 400 hallway. There's 1 person that's now going down the 200 hallway, so that everybody can hear it and then know how to respond. I'll talk about something, one of these trainings, and the second one, avoid, deny, and defend. So it was amazing that after that, the first time we did that last year, the number of kids and parents that walked up and said, it is so helpful to know where the threat is, so I know how to respond. So just all these things that we're learning through these drills. Just if you're not aware or not, there's a threat assessment team that everybody in Humble ISD, every school is required to have. A threat assessment team is basically a mixture of administrators, counselors, nurses, police officers, psychologists, diagnosticians, and then if there's any teachers that have key information. But basically, whenever there is a potential threat, like maybe a child's behavior is changing, like the way they dress, their grades have dropped tremendously, they're starting to drop hints, you see something on social media, the threat assessment team is trained to come together and talk about the child and see what level of a threat it is, and then how to respond. So this is come in place over the last 2 years, and as a matter of fact, we're getting some more training as a school in the next 2 months. Now, cross your fingers, but the vestibule to harden the building that we have up here in the front, those doors should be going in tomorrow, start going in tomorrow. So hopefully by that time, the building will be even more hardened. So really the only entrance, the unlocked doors would be through the front entranceway. Of course, a propped door, which we don't, the last 2 years, we don't have prop doors anymore, but a prop door is now the only enemy to hardening the exterior of the building. So that will be done tomorrow. iHelp, are you all familiar with iHelp? It's an anonymous tip line that students or parents can go online and report a tip. If you're not familiar with that, please let me know so we can communicate that to you. But this is in place the last 2 years. And it's very interesting. We have noticed that there is a significant percentage, when I say significant, we're talking about 15, 20, 30% of students that are reporting for their friends or themselves something regarding to self-harm. So the mental health of our children is something that is on our minds as far as responding to our students' needs. So that's what we're noticing there. Just so y'all know, what we're working on right now is we have a reunification plan. I'm not going to reveal that to you right now, but if there is a danger to the school, we have a place to go. We have plans of how to distribute the staff. We have a plan based on if an administrator goes down, we have directions on how to have the staff know how to respond as well. But what we're in the development of doing right now is creating a website. So if an emergency does happen at school, we will make a website live for parents to inform you with everything. So we don't have to send text messages. We basically will pop within seconds. We'll have videos, maps, how to check in your child, driver's license information, just all of that. So that's what we're working on right now so that you are informed if there is an emergency. Of course, the best measure of prevention is building relationships with our students, students to students, staff to students, so that they feel connected. They feel like they have an adult they can go to if they're ever personally struggling or if they have another student that's bothering them. And then I just wanted to put up here just current upcoming training for staff, students, and administration, continuing to work on our emergency operation plan, threat assessment teams, and then something that's going to be happening very soon is something called CRAZE, which is Civilian Response to Active Shooter Event, training our staff and our students. It used to be Run, Fight, Hide, but now they are calling it Avoid, Deny, Defend. This is basically hiding. This is blockades. And then this right here is actually if you are exposed and you need to defend yourself. So this is a training that we'll be going through over the next month to 2 months. Any questions about safety at AMS? Yes.
Yeah, this threat assessment team, who is it?
Administrator, counselor, diagnostician, campus officer, nurse, teachers, depending on what they know.
Have there been any drills for like a quick response team from the police to get here? How, if they have, how long does it take?
That usually, well, I wouldn't say the actual police getting here, but in our intruder drills, what we do is we have a protocol, steps that we follow, that when we get to command center, we have roles. So some people's role is to get on and view cameras. Some people's roles are to scribe what is happening. Some people's roles are to communicate to 911. So, and we have timed ourselves on how fast we call out to 911 after the threat has been made.
If you don't mind, what's the response time?
What is the response time? It was 35 seconds.
So is it an officer in the area, or is there somebody stationed here, or
Yes.
they have a dedicated officer to come here?
Yeah, thankfully, Dr. Sconzo and Dr. Fagan, we have an officer on every secondary campus. Yes.
And has he been working with the teachers so he knows who's supposed to be here and who's not?
What do you mean he's supposed to be here?
Well, if he shows up all of a sudden and you get some teacher responding to threats, how is the officer going to know that that's actually a teacher, not just some bad guy walking around?
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, I would say that he knows our staff, he knows our kids.
And staff knows him and everything?
Oh, yes, yes.
Okay.
The Officer Ford is our dedicated officer.
And how far away is he usually?
Oh, he's in the building.
All the time?
All the time.
Okay.
I would say that he goes to dismissal at 3:15 at elementary school. When I say all the time, I mean he's stationed here, but there are times where maybe he might be called to the high school, but that's infrequent.
Okay.
So, yes, sir.
I have something, a question. I'm glad you brought up the safety, but I've actually been in touch with the school board.
Yes.
In regards to something that I noticed around the school itself on the backside. My son is an athlete, and he reports in at 6:45.
Yes.
The back part of the school is completely dark. I noticed that there are cameras there, but this is a bad picture, but it's completely dark. I actually have a video in regards to that.
Yes.
There are light fixtures, look like bulbs have just been knocked out. I don't know, but I was wondering what could be done in the short term to lighten the back part of the school around that time of day, because my son, as well as some of the other student athletes, have expressed feeling uncomfortable at that time of morning, because what they do is they come in on the backside behind the school to come into the field house.
Right.
So I came here today to find out, or at least make it known that that is an issue if it wasn't known, and find out what could be a timeline of something like that could be rectified.
Okay, so I remember, and first of all, thank you very much for saying something, because I remember Dr. Brown or Dr. Sorry, like it all of a sudden.
I have with Mrs. Dixon. I know she's with the school board, because I've actually taken this all the way to them, and they told me that it would be taken care of, but this email goes back to September 21. Here it is, pretty much a month later.
Well, I can pull up the email. I would say 2 to 3 days later. An email was sent by the assistant superintendent over building and maintenance to the maintenance department to get that fixed ASAP. So if it's not done yet, then I need to go back and contact, Dr. Correa.
Okay.
Yeah. So if you'll stay afterward, I'll real quick, I'll get your name and number, and I can call you directly when it's done.
Okay, great.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Yeah, because for some crazy reason before kids, I used to work till 2 or 3 a.m. in the building, and it's just freaky when you're working that late at night when it's dark. So I understand, being in the dark by yourself. So questions about safety, others? Yes.
Let's say if an officer goes down, is there always going to be like a reserve officer?
Well, typically, and they've been practicing these things, I would say that you'll see this more full-scale response by the police department more at a high school. They practice them, but they practice it usually during the summer at high school. But yes, they have, just because Officer Ford here doesn't mean there isn't more officers coming. Just to let y'all know, these radios that we have, the district spent money on these. Typically, the radios that we had, every campus had different radios. Now the entire district is on the same radio system, so that anytime I can press a button and hold it down for just a matter of seconds, and then it alerts the entire district and every radio that there is an emergency here. So that would reach, we have 20 radios on this campus, so multiply that times 48 campuses. So there would be an appropriate response. Yes.
I think it's good you have the radios, but is there a designated signal to say it's at this school and not just everyone's radio in the whole district going off? I mean, wouldn't it send cops everywhere rather than one spot?
Yeah, so when we press this button, we have a 10-second window to say Atascoci Middle School and then speak for another 7 or 8 seconds.
Also, the IDs that the kids have, do they have a chip in them?
No.
Have you thought about a chip with like a lock on some of these doors and stuff like that for kids to get in and out and deny anybody?
Well, we don't really.
Yeah, I can talk to you about that after this. Yeah. Questions? Yes, sir.
Does officers forward firearm packing up punch? No.
Yes.
Just asking a question.
I cannot speak about what kind of bullets got in it, but by the way, the district does have, they've purchased shields, automatic weapons and things like that. Years before, they would not have those things. They have employed themselves with that type of firearm to counteract what some people may bring on campus. So how are we doing on time? Okay, we're almost at that time, right?
Yes.
Okay, so let me see if you can just, I think we're at the end. We're ready for our 8th grade class to come in. Can you just click forward for me? See what other. Oh, darn, the best part. This is where I get super excited about the vision moving forward. I will basically try to get it down to a minute or less. I do not like the current educational system. I do not believe that it meets the needs of our students. It meets, for the most part, some needs of students some of the time. But I envision a system where you take the best of a brick and mortar school. The best of a brick and mortar school is the social interaction, the ability to do labs, the ability to do debates and seminars, the ability to do, the ability to collaborate together and do projects together. And you take the best of that with the best of homeschool, where you have self-pacing, personalization, and individualization. I am working on that right now to combine the best of those two worlds so that children will be able to, at times, engage in learning with peers, but they're also pacing at a different level than than the people around them. It is a robust vision, and to say it is happening in the United States at the time. It's happening typically in charter schools and smaller private schools, but what I envision is bringing that to a large public school such as AMS moving forward. Has anybody watched my videos, my first 4 videos on the vision? Yes, finally. I will give you Tiger tickets for that. Has anybody else watched my videos?
Yeah.
No? Okay. Okay, Ken, thank you very much. Will's watched them? Okay. I've got a lot more videos on things I'm going to put on it to be much more specific. Let me, and I wish I could go through this. Yeah, keep going. Go ahead and click on it. Yeah, this is in my videos. Keep going past. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. Okay, let's just stop right. Let's just go back one slide. Basically, the biggest part of my vision is communicating, measuring, and communicating learning. That's the big thing is I hate grades. I believe that grades actually, have some value, but I believe that they can be easily manipulated and changed, that they truly do not measure learning of children. They actually are blurred by measuring responsibility and learning. And so before I leave, we will change, I envision changing how we measure and communicate learning, because I believe that our educational system, the way we measure and communicate grades, does not give parents and students enough information to be active in their child's learning process. So I want to give parents better information, and then I want to give parents and students more tools into helping their child with their learning, and technology will be able to do that. I will tell you right now, just because I'm just extremely excited about where we're going with this. I am in works with one of the leading companies in the United States with regards to homeschool curriculum, fully fully everything curriculum. I do not believe in putting kids in front of computers. I'm not for that. That's just them listening to us. But it can have great power in helping our students that are ready to move on while their peers are just getting additional support. It helps personalize and pace kids at different levels. So please listen. Most of y'all are 8th grade, so you're moving on. So sorry, y'all won't be able to experience it too much. But the next coming years, hopefully, if you have children coming forward, please, when you hear me talk about learning is personal, please watch my videos because I'm really excited about the future of education. So with that, I'm going to trade places. I'd like to introduce Nay Martinez. She's 8th grade counselor. Yes. So she is, we were very blessed to have Jennifer Birch in 6th and 7th grade, but I must tell you that the short time that Ms. Martinez has been on campus, she has made a tremendous impact on our kids and staff. So for you and for the reason y'all are here. So.
Set up the
Yep.
have it on my drive.
Yep.
Because I don't know how to double screen it.
Okay, I'll do it.
And I have my own.
You go quicker.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, guys. I don't know if they can see me. Can they see me? I'm Nay Martinez. I'm the 8th grade counselor tonight. The information from this point on is going to be geared towards the 8th graders getting ready for high school. I do have the high school freshman counselors here. I have Ms. Van Horn over there. I have Ms. White, and I have Mr. Wheeler. I think Mr. Wheeler is going to present the slides, and we're all going to answer questions. Anybody's going to come help present, or they're going to save themselves for the Q&A. And we are live, so if anybody has, yes.
Let me say this: if you were 6th and 7th grade, that begin. This first half was for 6th and 7th grade. Y'all are free to.
Yes. So all 8th grade.
Yeah, that's why it was confusing on the time.
Yeah, well, no, we started with the principal school first to lead into this meeting. Yeah. Yes.
Where's your?
Oh, it's in. It's plugged in.
Oh, it's okay.
Yeah. It's okay, guys, welcome parents of class of 2023 and future Eagles. I have covered a lot of what we're going to be doing when it comes to 4-year planning. And also the high school counselors have come over and did a presentation with the 8th graders. For those of you that are online that couldn't join us, this will be on the YouTube channel as well. And there will also be a presentation that's similar.
Sweetie, you lost your mic.
I did. Is that better?
Right.
Okay. So it's amstigers83@gmail.com channel. Okay, I'm trying to. It won't.
Can she?
Yes, I can hear you. Okay, the clickers don't work that far away, I guess. Can you click it for Mr. Kohler? It won't yet. It doesn't work that far. Okay, let's talk about graduation plan. When we talk about the foundation graduation plan with endorsements, you have to have 4 Englishes, you have to have 4 math, 4 science, 3 social studies, 1 PE credit, 1 fine art credit, 2 credits of foreign language, and 7 elective credits, which total 26 credits in order to graduate from high school. We do know that if you're planning to go to college or continuing any type of education beyond high school, they do make the recommendation that you do have social studies for 4 years, along with the other ones. Also with the distinguished graduation plan with endorsements, you have to meet all of the requirements in the foundation, along with completing Algebra 2 as one of the required math credits. Also, elective choices will be dependent upon the endorsement, and we'll talk more about endorsements in a few seconds. Next slide. There we go. Endorsements. The purpose of the foundation endorsement, it instills like flexibility in your educational ability for the students to pursue a traditional path for colleges and universities, or more directly into the workforce. So for instance, if you wanted to go into welding, cosmetology, culinary arts, an endorsement is similar to like a college major. So for instance, you look at an endorsement in something you like, that would be like having a major that you select in college. Also, students can earn an endorsement in one of the following areas. So we have STEM, which is science, technology, engineering, and math. We also have business and industry, I'm sorry. And number 3 is public services. Number 4 is arts and humanity. And then 5 is multidisciplinary studies, which is like your general studies, like if you were going to a college or a university. The foundation programs with endorsements, this is what they look like. These are the 5 endorsements that we have at Atascoci High School, and actually in Humble ISD. So basically you have different career clusters that fall under each endorsement. So if your child chooses arts and humanities and they want to have a career cluster in music or fine arts, it would fall under arts and humanity endorsement, and they would take the career clusters, or their electives would follow under fine arts of music, or if they do fine arts of actual arts. You kind of see the smaller career clusters underneath. And when we were in Choices 360, we kind of looked at how those career clusters fell under those endorsements. So they'll have to select an endorsement in order to graduate. Next. Why choose so early? Having a plan earlier allows you the opportunity to take advantage of all the opportunities that exist in Humble ISD. Choosing your path early does not lock you into a pathway. Exploring your options early gives you a chance to figure out what you really want to do. So basically, this is like doing the course cards we did here. Doing the endorsement early will let you decide if this is something that you really want to do, gives you opportunity to make changes where needed before it's time to lock and roll them over to the high school. Because if there's errors made, as a freshman, your child may come to school and say, I didn't decide to do this, and because the schedules are already made and the staff has been hired accordingly to what they've chosen, they don't change the schedule. It's going to stay as it is as a freshman. But every year they will have the opportunity to revisit the courses that they selected with their counselor through a verification sheet to make sure that they are in the right endorsement and they're doing things that they chose to do. Okay, next. Why are students being guided to choose a career path? Students with career goals are 16% more likely to graduate from high school. Students who participate in CTEs courses are 30% more likely to complete high school, and students with well-defined career goals are more likely to pursue college or university after high school, and students with well-defined career goals are more likely to attain jobs in their chosen field. So basically, they'll do things that they like to do after high school. Okay, next. Other graduation requirements. We have to have 2 credits of LOTE, which is language. It could be language other, what is it?
Languages other than English.
Languages other than English. So basically, you have to have at least 2 of the same. You have to have 1 credit of PE, 1 credit of fine arts, which totals, oh, this is the other part, because the other one had the chords on it, I'm sorry. It was 4 math, 4 English, 3 social studies, and how many sciences? 4 sciences, okay. Humboldt ISD recommends beginning your foreign language requirement in your sophomore year unless you've already begun foreign language in middle school. How many students in here have taken Spanish? 1. So if you've taken Spanish 1 now, high school counselors are going to recommend that you take Spanish 2 as a freshman because you want to have that back-to-back. But there's other languages available, and we'll show it on the next slide. So at AHS, there's Spanish, French, Latin, and American Sign Language. But you must take 2 years of the same foreign language. For example, if you take Spanish 1, you need to take Spanish 2. You can't take Spanish 1 and French 1. You can't take American Sign Language and then take Latin. And these are the only foreign languages or LOTEs that are available at Atascoci High School. Okay. Fine arts credit, you're required to have 1. Your choices are art, arts, theater production, orchestra, band, choir, dance, and drill team. Note, Dance 1 allows students to earn 1 fine arts credit and 1 PE credit at the same time. So basically, if you're in band in the fall because they march, that is a PE credit. So, and you can be in dance, which is like our dance here in middle school, where it's a PE credit. It's not part of the drill team. And then, of course, you can do the drill team, which is the Patriots. Next. Physical education, you have your PE classes, you have athletics, you have fall semester of cheer, you also have fall semester of band, which is the march portion. We have junior ROTC, drill team, dance 1, and off-campus PE waiver. It has to be approved from the vendor list. Also, guys, if you have your children want to do the PE waiver, that's all done online through the district. Helen Wagner is our coordinator. Myself or the high school counselors have no control over the actual application process. It opens in April and it closes June the 1st for next year. So if you're interested in something like that, that needs to be handled as soon as possible, and it's on the district website. Also, let's talk about athletics. In middle school, athletics is open for you to, once you're in athletic period, you can participate in multiple different types of sports. Well, in high school, you have to try out for that specific sport. So for instance, if you want to do swimming, you have to try out for the swim team. You have to make these teams. You don't automatically get placed on the teams. And there's a lot more sporting activities than middle school can offer.
I have a question.
Yeah.
For the physical education, is it mandatory for them to do it?
Yes, you have to have 1 year of PE.
Now, if they do sports outside school,
yes,
would that count?
Yes, that's what the off-campus PE waiver is.
That has to be done in
April to June the 1st is a cutoff, yes. And if you go to the district website and go to departments, you will see PE or physical education, and then it'll have a link for you to click and do the application.
Now, my next question is, if she does physical education in high school, and she also does orchestra, would that affect in any way?
No, orchestra would count as her fine arts credit.
Yeah, but would that affect with, and I know because a lot of the teams for high school, they do travel and they do things
yes.
like that, but that doesn't affect with her orchestra or anything like that?
No, because the off-campus PE waiver has requirements of so many hours a week. So she can get them done on the weekend. It doesn't have to be done during the particular week if she's traveling with the organization. Okay, next slide. No problem. No. Okay, guys, requirement. We're talking about STAR EOCs. So in high school, they're called end of course exams through STAR. There is English 1 EOC, there's an English 2 EOC, an Algebra 1 EOC, biology and U.S. history. EOCs listed in bold are typically taken during the freshman year, depending on the student's schedule. And I know all of your kids took the actual PSAT, and if they did well enough, they can exempt out of the English 1 and what other one? And algebra. So if they did well enough, they may be exempt. Yes, ma'am.
Oh, I was wondering if it's possible that you got English 1 and you actually go now?
No, you wouldn't be able, you said moved up out of English 1? You can only exempt from the EOC. Yes. Okay, next slide. What's a credit? High school students earn a half credit for successful completion of each course each semester. Semester average must be 70% or better. Student must earn credit if the end of the year average is 70% or better. Attendance matters. Students who fail to be in class 90% of the time can jeopardize losing credit. So for instance, attendance is a little bit different in high school than middle school. If you miss more than the 10% of seat time being in the classroom, sitting in the seat, even if you have a 95 grade in the class and you haven't been present, you will lose credit. So you have to be in attendance. The counselors at AHS gave a good example when we were talking to the students that if you get sick and you are in the hospital for a week and then you had already had some additional absences, well, you made an 80 in the class, but you won't earn credit because the state of Texas says she was not in that seat 90% of the time. So come to school, be at school. There are remedies in the case of an emergency, but those are extenuating situations where you would have to earn seat time back because the state of Texas says you have to be present to get this credit. Okay, next. Students will select courses through Choices 360. I know we've been in Bridges. It is the same program, just a new look, a little bit more different bells and whistles, and they call it Choices 360. They've been in Bridges 6th, 7th grade. They've been in Bridges as 8th graders. They should have brought something home and got you guys to look at Bridges with them, or Choices 360. See, I'm still stuck in Bridges. And this is where they'll do their endorsement and course selection. So it's like an electronic course card. Okay, next. Oh, we can go back, okay. And this is gonna be on the website as well too, guys, so we do encourage you getting into Choices 360 with your kids. You can't mess it up. Go in there and look at some of the career clusters. There's career inventories. There's different things that's available. Okay, we ready? Okay. AHS counselors will return to work with your students in Choices 360 on October 31st and November 1st. So they will come over and they will get with their students and start doing their plans. Also, guys, if you don't have a computer at home or you don't feel comfortable in Choices 360, on December the 5th, we'll have an open lab in here where parents can come and do the course selection process here. Myself and the 3 counselors will all be here to help if you have questions. Kind of helps on the back end when your kids are decisive about what they want. It's less things to clean up. And that will be from 6 to 7:30. AHS will also host the same parent night February the 5th at 6:30, and it will be in the PAC Center on the backside of AHS. So they'll do the same presentation. So if somebody can't join, can't watch the live stream, can't watch the video, it'll be available. They'll have one over there. Choices 360 will close February the 15th. So everything has to be put in, planned, corrected, and locked, and then they do the rollover by February the 15th. Spring, students will receive verification sheets once everything is done after February. They'll go home. You guys do the same process. If it's something on there that needs to be changed, you would mark through it, and then get them back to me, and I'll get them to the counselors over there, whatever needs to be done, in order to make sure that your child has the courses that they want or selected for high school. Also, guys, here's some future information. The CTE flow chart, basically that's going to tell you how the electives go. Like if, for instance, you pick an endorsement that's in manufacturing. So it'll show you that you start with the principles of manufacturing and what's next. So it'll give you a flow chart of how they work. This is the TEA toolkit. Also the planning guide, which has all the courses and the descriptions. And then we have the Choices 360 website, which is the website we'll do for course selection, for-year planning. Okay, questions. I'm gonna invite the counselors from AHS up, and we're gonna ask questions kind of, I guess, one at a time, so that way we can kind of hear it since we're live. Yes, sir.
I noticed that like when it's like English 1 and English 2, it has to be taken in order from English 1 to English 2, or like just no? Can it...
English 1 and English 2 build on each other. If you skip English 1 and take English 2 before you take English 1, that would be a problem. Yes.
How many classes are there a semester?
There are 7. We offer seven periods a day. Yes, ma'am.
What do you do for, what do you offer for children that have reading disabilities or they're dyslexic? How will that work with their classes?
Well, so we have a dedicated teacher for the dyslexic program, as well as languages other than English. She's one and the same teacher. A lot of times by the time they get to high school, they have already gone through all of the training. There is a Read 1 class and a Read 2 class that they can go into if they need extra help. But generally speaking, by the time they get to high school, they've already done all of the training that they need to do. So the district is using a CAN program. I can't remember the name of the program right offhand.
It's CAN Academy. It's the...
No, it used to be BARD.
Barton?
Barton.
Okay.
That's the thing that most students go through in elementary school and middle school. By the time they get to high school, they've already finished the Barton program. Mm-hmm. So there are no other supports like that per se. If someone does need to go through the Barton program, that can be talked about with the dyslexia coordinator. As well, there are 504 programs where we support dyslexic students. Yes, ma'am.
So for the career tech electives for their endorsement, is that information spelled out in Choices 360 or something from home? To me, the best way to look at that, and it's a big document. It's actually 164 pages. That's going to be the Humble ISD planning and course guide. If you go on to the AHS website and look off to the left in quick links, you'll find the course planning guide. It's a big document, but it gives you a brief description of every single course that we offer. And some of the courses, some of the CTE courses have prerequisites, like you have to take the principles course in order to go on to the next, because that principles course or the next course will build on the principles course all the way through. So. Yes, ma'am.
Is the Algebra 1 class here at AMS different than Algebra 1 in high school? Or so if you're taking it now, then he'll go into 2 next year?
If they successfully complete the Algebra 1 class, meaning they get a 70 or higher for both semesters, then they will go on actually to geometry. That is the next step. So if your student doesn't take Algebra 1 this year, they'll take it as a freshman. Or if they try it and it's a little bit too much for them at the time, they'll retake Algebra 1 as a freshman.
But at the middle school level, they have to earn the entire 1 credit for algebra. Otherwise, they will not get to move forward into geometry.
Yes, ma'am.
So when would they take the EOC for algebra?
In the spring.
Yeah. So if your student is taking Algebra 1, the Algebra 1 class now, then they will take that Algebra 1 class they'll take the EOC in the spring. But that's a little bit dependent upon what they did the PSAT 8 or 9.
or the PSAT 8-9. If they got a high enough score on the PSAT 8-9, it can exempt them from the Algebra 1 test.
So they're not gonna take the regular 8th grade STAR math test? And
No.
Algebra 1, they'll take the
They'll take
Algebra 1.
Algebra 1.
So what's the highest score on the PSAT?
I don't know right offhand.
It changes every year.
Yeah, I think it's around a 450, I think, from the training that we had this morning, but I don't recall right offhand. They'll let you know.
Oh, I'm sure.
And it's possible. We've had several kids that are very successful in getting exempt, whether it's in the English 1 or the algebra. So,
and the PSAT 8-9, we actually had almost half of our freshman class exempt either English or algebra based upon their PSAT scores. So yeah, so that's kind of a nice little thing that may take them out of an EOC class or an EOC test. Yes.
So let's say if I was taking Algebra 1 for this semester, once I passed it, how many more stuff of math would I have to do?
3 more. You have to take and pass all year of Algebra 1. That will earn you 1 full credit. Then you'll take 3 more math classes minimum. Unless you decide that you want to get a STEM math endorsement, you'll have time to take a 5th math. So that can earn you a STEM math endorsement. Yes, ma'am.
Can there be dual endorsements?
So Choices 360 will only give you the opportunity to pick 1 endorsement. However, if you plan stuff out right, my daughter's a senior this year. She's going to end up with 4 endorsements total. That takes a little bit of planning. So when your student is a senior, the senior counselors will look at the credits that they've earned and will look at how many different endorsements they have earned, and that will all go on their transcript. Yes, ma'am.
What are the most advanced classes of freshmen?
Well, for the most part, pre-AP classes, we do offer 1 AP class. That's AP Human. That is the companion course to World Geography. So AP courses are college level courses, and that's pretty tough as a freshman.
And they will take the AP exam the spring semester.
In order to earn college credit, yes, ma'am. Yes.
All right. Why would you want multiple endorsements?
It makes you more marketable for college.
Yes.
College looks at your transcript. They look at what you have done. If you've maximized your high school career, that looks better than someone who has done the minimum. Someone who just graduates with 26 credits, you know, it just makes them look better, makes them more marketable. Yes.
So right now I'm taking Algebra 1. Whenever I get into, if I actually pass the EOC and get the credit for this class, I go to Algebra 2 instead of...
No, ma'am, you go to geometry next, and then you'll do Algebra 2 after that. And then potentially college algebra, pre-cal, and you could even get through calculus. What you got?
JRTC counts as PE?
ROTC does count for PE, yes. It also could potentially, if you do all 4 years, it could count as a public service endorsement, yes. Yes,
I
ma'am.
have a question about just access to the Choices 360, because I was looking at the handout that we got in the email. And I read it as like I could set up a parent account, but I would need some sort of access code.
Email me and I can set that up for you, or you can go in through your kids as well.
You know what? Going in through your children probably is the best thing, because then you can actually look at what they have done.
Yes.
Because they've done inventories and they kind of know what and most of them who said they wanted to be a veterinarian, they found something under the endorsement that they like to do, things that they were passionate about, want to be passion-based, so that way they have a future set aside and ready to go. Mm-hmm. We talked about pre-AP as well. We know a lot of students take pre-AP across the board here in middle school.
Well, that's a good, yeah.
High school guys, let Mr.
Yeah, okay. I'll talk about that. So I would assume that there are quite a few people in this room whose students are in everything pre-AP that AMS has to offer. Pre-AP in high school is a little bit different. It is way more rigorous. The expectations are higher. If you couple that with a dedicated sport, even the sports are more difficult and require a lot more dedication. Band does, orchestra, choir. Straight across the board, higher expectations, way more requirements. My advice to someone who's in everything pre-AP, your cores, definitely come and try that at AHS. However, we do offer a couple of different times to level drop at the 3rd week mark or the 6th week mark. Monitor your students, make sure that they're finding balance. Make sure that they're not up until midnight or 1 o'clock every single morning, trying to get all of that work done. It's a big workload. And you add like drill team or band or orchestra or anything on top of it, and you really need to make sure that your child is balanced. High school is about hard work, but it's also about the social aspect. And if they're missing that social aspect and they're not balanced, that can lead to problems. So.
Yes.
Thank you for reminding me about that. Yes, ma'am.
About the PE, when they do the tryouts, you said there was multiple tryouts.
Well, yes, for different
If-
sports.
Okay, for the sports,
Mhm.
but if they stay with the sports in school, not outside school, do they have to do every single tryout, or they just go with whatever they?
Well, like for instance, if I played soccer, I had to try out for the soccer team in order to be put into the period. And I try out that year. Doesn't mean you have to try out every year, but you do have to try it. I can't just say I'm going to play soccer. I have to try out.
They have tryouts every year.
Every year? Oh,
Every-
wow.
every
What
year.
every year.
That's not
Yeah.
my question. So if you don't make it to that tryout for that soccer, I mean, do you have to try for something else?
Well,
no, you can.
Well, potentially. So here's the thing. We offer an awful lot of sports. Usually we have students who are into multiple sports. They come from middle school being able to play soccer at the same time that they're playing football and whatever. And that's a good thing. For us, if they don't make a team and they want to try out for something else, then they would simply email the coach to set up a time or to get information about another tryout. This is what I'm going to say about students and coaches. It earns the coach's respect when the student emails and asks to be put into a program. If parents email, then the coach says, the parent wants the student in basketball or football or whatever. If the student emails, and they can CC you in to help grease the wheels and help be an advocate. But if the student emails, the coach says, oh my gosh, look at that. Especially as a freshman, that freshman is taking the initiative to email. It makes your child stand out. And that coach, it earns their respect. So just something to kind of
And
consider.
I would suggest that you go to the AHS website and go to athletics and look at the different sports. And if your child's interested in trying out for a particular sport, look and see in the spring and summertime if they're going to have tryouts before school.
Sure.
Right. So you need to have those tryout dates.
Yeah. Because like
in mind.
Cheer and dance.
Cheer and drill team, those are in the spring. Golf comes late summer.
Yes.
And they actually have to go. They're not going to teach your child strokes. They're going to expect your child to go to the Walden Country Club and play around a golf and shoot a score within a particular, score range in order to be accepted on the team.
And that was a conversation we had with the kids. It's Atascoci High School. It's very competitive. And so if they have the skills and they want to try out, that's a great thing. But, it's like Ms. Martinez said earlier, don't just go for the sport just because you think you can play. I mean, we encourage it, but just make sure that it's a commitment you're wanting to make.
What's up?
What do you do exactly in sports medicine? Do you just have out the athletes or what?
So here's the thing about the athletic trainers. You actually have to apply to do it. It will count for PE credit, but you have to commit to so many football games, so many baseball games, so many softball games, it's a major commitment. It's probably more of a commitment than, let's say, you're on the golf team or the baseball team, because you're year round doing stuff. So it's a wonderful program and you're going to learn a lot, but you have to be majorly committed to do it.
What do you do in that class? Do you just about the athletes? Like, you just give them this?
Well, you learn about helping athletes out on the field. You're taping up injuries. You're supervised by our athletic trainers. You're doing stuff that's sports medicine related.
Yes, it is. This is sports medicine.
Also, for JROTC, are they going to have, like, since you said it sort of was like for military, are they going to have like bunks, I guess? Or?
No, nothing like that. You won't be staying at school. Yes, ma'am. In the back, in the purple. Did you? Yes, ma'am.
So we have been on athletics. I have a question about leadership opportunities and motivations.
Sure.
At AHS.
Sure.
And are there any early opportunities that we should know about in regards to joining that or having a,
Sure.
some forefront information?
Well, so here's what I'm going to say about leadership opportunities. Your child can join any club as a ninth grader. When it comes to like National Honor Society, stuff like that, they have to actually be nominated, and that starts in 10th grade. But they can have leadership positions in theater, the bass fishing club, the tons of clubs that we have, and all of our clubs and organizations are listed on the AHS website. All of that leadership really helps when you go to apply for scholarships, college, those kind of things. I would highly suggest if your student is in a leadership position, even if it's at church or anything outside, once they start ninth grade, keep track of those hours. When you come to a counselor and you say, your student gives the counselor a brag sheet, it's always nice and helpful to the counselor. You'd be surprised how many leadership hours or service opportunity hours your child can accrue in 4 years. When you say to a counselor, my child has done many hours, at such and such a leadership position, for us to be accurate, we have to reflect that and say many hours. What is many hours? More than 2, right? If you actually have an accurate list and say 300 hours of service through this and organization, it makes your child look a lot better for college and for scholarships. Does that help? Yes, sir.
There's a question from an online viewer from Ms. Martinez. When are they going to provide the PSAT scores for 8th grade?
Usually it takes anywhere from 2 to 3 weeks for them to come in, and they just took it October the 5th. The 11th. 10th. Oh, the 10th. So probably before the Thanksgiving break, we should have some results in.
Any other questions?
Oh, I have a question
Yes,
about pre-AP. I was told that if they take a pre-AP class and then decide to get in the on-level class, they can't go back to pre-AP.
That's not true at all.
That's not true.
That is not true at all.
Okay.
You can't do it mid-semester.
Yeah.
So if they
Well,
were
we
to
would-
drop it, let's say at the 6-week mark, yeah, we would encourage them to stay. But the next year they could start again. Yes.
And you guys got to realize that pre-AP courses are weighted different in high school. So it will bring your child's GPA down if they have a C in pre-AP where they may have an A in on level. So the GPA is weighted at what, 5.0 or 4?
5-point scale.
5-point scale versus a 4-point scale. And sometimes you have to look at the GPA too, especially with the school like Atascoci, because it is so large and very academically competitive too.
Is it the different subjects that they're weighted different or just
the pre-AP?
Just pre-AP.
Well, pre-AP, AP, and honors. All of those things carry the 5-point weighted scale. You have the potential, if you're running an A in those classes, to help your GPA out. If, however, you're running a C or a low B, generally with the same effort, you can actually increase your GPA by going to an all-level class. Yes, ma'am.
What about dual credit? When does dual credit start? Or what
The opportunity, that's a good question. The opportunities for dual credit at Atascoci High School really start in 11th grade with dual history. However, Humble ISD has rolled out the core complete. So your student could potentially take the TSI, be accepted into Lone Star, and actually do some dual credit courses over the summertime through Lone Star.
And that's also in the high school planning guide.
Yes.
So it has all the endorsement information, and then there's a separate page for Core Complete that tells you all the opportunities and different classes they can receive for Core Complete.
And all these links in the PowerPoint will be on the AMS website. And again, the video will be on YouTube channel.
One thing that I wanted to point out earlier, and she mentioned this, that obviously we're making them choose an endorsement so early and they're worried that they're going to be locked into it, and they will have opportunities to change it. The key thing is electives. So as soon as your kid signs off on that verification sheet, you sign off on the verification sheet, we start rolling with their schedule. We do not make elective changes. We do not make elective changes. Now, if they wanted to move on to a different endorsement their sophomore year, let's say that they didn't like principles of law their freshman year, then we can move towards a different endorsement and a different elective sophomore year. However, that freshman year, they have to stay in that elective that y'all have signed off for.
Because they staff accordingly.
Is that like changing your major in college though, where you like lost a bunch of credits?
Well, no. That still counts towards the 26.
It still is an elective credit.
Yes.
You just need 4 credits in a specific area in order to earn an endorsement. So really, up until junior year, you can change elective, or you can change your endorsement a couple of times, and still be safe. But once you get to junior year, it starts to get a little bit hairy because you need those 4 elective courses in a specific area to earn an endorsement.
And some of those courses require a prerequisite that you have to take first before you can continue to move on. So you do want to be careful when you're moving or changing endorsements.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so in that, staying in that vein, would that play into the multidisciplinary? Because I know how it works in college. That's basically how it works in college.
Potentially.
These endorsements and
yes.
You kind of fall in that category.
And the thing that she talked, Miss Martinez talked earlier about the 4 social studies.
Right.
So if your child tries a couple of things and they don't find anything that sticks, they try the principles of architecture, they try the principles of law enforcement, maybe they try principles of education and training, nothing sticks, we can do the multidisciplinary endorsement. It's like the old-fashioned 4x4, 4 math, 4 science, 4 social studies, so and 4 English. So we always try to get freshmen to take the world geography, sophomores take world history, juniors take U.S. history, and then 1 semester of government and econ senior year. Because we never really know where the students are going to end up endorsement wise. We would like them to come away with something that they absolutely love. But maybe they try 3 or 4 different things, don't find anything that sticks. So then we go back to the multidisciplinary. Yes, ma'am.
All right, if you guys have any questions, do not hesitate to send me an email. I will answer the question to the best of my ability, or I'll go to the high school gurus and get the answers for you. Okay, so happy Choices 360. You're ready for high school.
Thank you, Ms. Martinez.
Thank you, guys.
When did the kids start getting it?
They started getting in there on, when was that? The 1st of October. 1st, 2nd, and 3rd, we got in there. That was yeah, and it's the same thing. It's just a new thing. They don't encourage it because the way it works. Like you would take a couple, like you know, but there's no way to get it all. That's even with that high school. That was a question they asked that our this is a whole lot. Oh yeah, they changed it up. Yeah, man. I don't know those kids. I love them. Hey, my friend. Oh no. Yes, no. I didn't know that, John.
Bro, you're gonna.
Meltdown.